Hello YouTube, RK Exiled here, and today I wanted to briefly go over one of the builds that I plan on playing in 3.16. This is my Earthshatter Slayer going using staff going crit, and I'm gonna just go over the PoB that I've crafted from the new passive tree, and then at the end of the video I'll have a map showcase and I will have a Sirus A8 last phase showcase. So I used to play this build in SSF, but it did get repeatedly nerfed. I also used to use it with axes and going resolute technique, but the damage is just so low on that build now that it's not really worth it. Last league I took it to trade and I changed it to staff crit, and I got around like 1.3 million damage, and it got the job done. I killed Sirus A8 a couple times. I was doing tier 16s just fine, and another thing that I did with the build is I used to play it as champion, but I went to Slayer last league for more damage. Now, I play it with like the crab sort of style of Slayer, so you have the cull, and then you also have the overleech, which feels really nice. This is awesome too because Endless Hunger gives you immunity to stun when you're leeching, so stun immunity is a big thing. It allows you to use a better Pantheon than Brine King. So as you can see in the PoB here, we get about 1.5 million damage for the initial impact of Earthshatter, and then about 1 million for each spike. And we're going to have 20 spikes. They're not all going to hit the boss, but a good majority of them are. We have almost 6k life, and you can kind of ignore the unreserved mana because PoB still doesn't have the new Flesh and Stone updated, so it's still 35%. So when it's updated, it'll be 25, so we'll have 10% more mana, which will be enough mana to use our skills. And then we get about 7k armor. Now all of this is without any of my flasks active. Also, for my War Chief totem, I have it set for the regular one and not the Val version, so it's more realistic this is more realistic of what you'll have versus single target bosses like Maven or Sirus. I also calculated it to be versing a boss like Sirus, and I was very strict with what I checkmarked. Only the things I know I'll always have, which is like Fortify, Leeching, and Endurance charges, because I'm going to be constantly spamming or weaving in Enduring Cry. And they're going to be maimed because we have Flesh and Stone maim on, and we're always in Blood Stance. The only thing a little fishy is I have it set for maximum effect for Pride, but realistically speaking, that's after a couple seconds of being near the boss, so it's not a big deal to have that put in the calculations there. Another thing I wanted to add was I'm not using any Awakened Gems in these links. Okay, let's move on to the Masteries. So for Warcry Masteries, we have the one that removes an ailment, the one that gives you 15% life back, the one that makes it so your Leap Slam doesn't count as an exerted attack, and a nice 25% increased damage buff. We have one attribute one, which is Corrupting Blood cannot be inflicted on you, very nice. We have a accuracy one that reduces our precision aura reservation. We have an armor one that reduces damage from critical strikes, which is off the Sanctum of Thought, which we can now get in the Soul of Steel wheel, which is pretty nice. We have plus 15 to max life. We have Forward on Hit, which is huge for this build. It lets us use Pulverize instead of Fortify in our main link, which gives us about 20% more damage. Also, with grabbing this means we have 21 total with these two combined of the new stacks of Fortify. Our one Impale wheel, we have a reduction to our Dread Banner reservation, and then the other masteries are up here. We have one crit mastery, which is just 25% crit multiplier against unique enemies. We have a reservation one for 15% more reservation efficiency of skills. And then our last life one is the 10% max one with 10% recovery. One thing I wanted to mention was the staff masteries aren't that great. The 30% one's okay, 30% defenses. It gives you like 1,000 more armor. So that would be one that you might want to take. But as far as the tree goes, we're just taking some Warcry wheels, 3 here. We're taking some generic damage wheels here and here, crit wheels, and 2 crit staff wheels up here, reservation wheel. I would like to get over here at some point, but it would cost another 6 points, so I couldn't really find that. It took me a while to even get it to this point. Trying to fit this build to 97 skill points was kind of tough, but I was able to balance it out with a fair amount of life and defenses along with the damage that I wanted. I also want to say that this 1.5 is with, where is it? Here, with Arctic Armor on as a defensive aura. In single target fights, you could check this off and put on Herald of Purity for more damage. So against like Sirus, if you went Herald of Purity, it would be like 1.7 million, which is a lot better. Keep in mind it's going to go down a little bit when they put in the new Flesh and Stone, because they're nerfing that by like, I think 30%. And again, when that's put in, the reservation should be at like almost 11%, so we should have plenty of mana. Alright, so let's go over the gear real quick. So the staff I'm using in here is the one that I ended up with in 3.15. It cost me 6 exalts. It's got a good high crit, high damage, and the base gives me extra endurance charge, which is nice. If you can find a way to generate power charges, that's also awesome. We have a mid-game one, which is like 1 to 3 exalts, which doesn't even really bring your DPS down that much, like 500,000. And then this is like an early game one that you can craft yourself fairly easily with like flat fizz essences and the craft on the fizz percent craft on the bench. And that's like, brings it down to a little bit above 1 million. So you do need these expensive weapons, but not till the very end of the league when you're in the end game content. We have a Crown Word of the Inward Eye. There's no enchant on it, so you can get one with an enchant. It's a fairly common helm to get an enchant with. I plan on getting one with enchant, and then cringling it with the new mechanic. And then for the body armor, just a 6-link ancestral plate. I just bought the base and crafted it myself using life essences and the tier 1 life essence, and then just crafting the percent life you get from Syndicate, from the Syndicate unveils. Spike gloves with a flat fizz roll and accuracy. Boots with movement, speed, and life. If you can get some chaos res, that's awesome. This was for a previous build, so you wouldn't even really need the dex or the int here. This build gets plenty of those attributes with a new skill tree. Amulet, I crafted it myself in here. This would probably cost you a couple exalts to get the multi and the crit with a good life roll and a good resist roll. This is a Hunter Influence Steel Ring, so it has the auxiliary attacks deal more damage, or increased damage. So this ring, I think, cost me about 1 exalt. We have a vulnerability on hit ring with kind of a mad life roll, but it has a good strength roll, so it ends up being not too bad life-wise. And this one, I think, cost me under an exalt, I'm pretty sure. My Rustic Sash, I crafted myself. I ended up getting a fractured one, so I just crafted that. And then for flasks, I'm just using a Lion's Roar with a Sulfur, Diamond, Quick, and Bubbling. I might try one of those over time. I usually always use Bubbling, but I might try a different one this league since they buff the over the time ones. And as far as like pushing this build, I have a Watcher's Eye here, a extra Impale, which adds about, I think, 18% more damage to the build, so you can get that. You can find some way of getting Intimidation, like if you get a level 5 melee physical. Pretty much all the level 5 Awakened Gems that you would use are pretty crazy. The Brutality one gives Crushed at level 5, so those are some nice upgrades. Like I said, you can get a Helm Enchant, and you can also get a Bald Faith. So this is certainly not the ceiling here of what you can hit with this build. And if you want to, you can even take out some of the more defensive stuff and put some more nodes into damage. Maybe go up to here and get like 21% more damage if you can work your way up here. Alright, and that's basically it for all I got to talk about in PoB. I'm going to end the video with the map showcase. This is a map, Tier 16 A8 map. It's in standard with my 3.15 character, using the old passive tree, but pretty much the same gear you see in here. I am using Herald of Purity over Arctic Armor at that point, so it's a little bit squishier than it would be, but should be nice and tanky and do more damage next league, so I'm very excited to play this character. Thank you for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one. Hope you have a great league start.
family.